This weekend podcast that we're not doing this week.
Jesus doesn't think you're a freak, or if he does, he thinks you're a freak in a good way.
Trust me, you two, I know what normal talk is.
Shortly after my son was born, I had this thought. Now I can buy Star Wars Legos and not have to carry the burden of shame of being a grown man playing with children's toys. You know what? It's not so shameful anymore. Hey everyone, Adam Holz here, your host of the Plugged In Show, focused on the family's weekly conversation about entertainment, pop culture, and technology. Well, when I was growing up, and yes, admittedly, that was a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away in Iowa in the 1970s and 80s, my dad didn't buy toys that he secretly hoped he would get to play with. He went to work. That's what grown men did in the 1970s. They didn't hang out in the toy section of Target trying to rationalize buying another Lego Millennium Falcon.
They didn't talk on podcasts about movies and TV.
No, none of those. That my grandfather would not have recognized this as real work. But I digress. This is not my grandfather's podcast. But these days, dads not only play with their kids, but sometimes they just straight up buy toys for themselves. In fact, a new report indicates that 25% of toys purchased these days are purchased by adults for themselves, not secretly, getting it for themselves and telling the cashier they're getting it for their kids. And it's also the biggest growth market in the toy industry. And I thought, man, I think there are some things to talk about here on the Plugged In Show with regard to pop culture, with regard to merchandising, and just asking the question, are adults playing with toys and playing with toys with their kids? Is that a good thing, a bad thing? Both, neither. So we're going to kick that around. I want to know what is either you have two choices, and I know some of you will make both choices because,
I don't know why you're looking at me.
I'm looking at you, Paulie C. What's your favorite Lego set, either that you owned or that you wish that you could own, but you have decided that $800 is too much money for a Lego set?
That's funny.
Paul, you want to lead us off? Go ahead, Jonathan.
I could chime in on that. I think that for me, I had a few of those sets, like it was like a spaceship or something like that. And believe it or not, it wasn't like now they seem to be commercialized towards a certain movie, like the Lego, Millennium Falcon or something like that. As cool as that would be, I never had one of those. I might have just had a Lego spaceship or a Lego castle or something like that. But the most that I had was just kind of those plain sets. And I was in Costco the other day, and my grandson's kind of into the Duplos now. We kind of will Duplo together. And there's this Lego set, and it said ages 5 and up. And I was bummed because I'm like, my grandson's only 2. But I was looking because Costco has this jumbo set that's like just a bunch of the basic, pieces. Yeah. And I was super excited because it wasn't like a spaceship set or anything like that. It was literally a bunch of yellow, a bunch of red, a bunch of green, and like the flat pieces that you're always looking for that there's never enough of.
Right.
There's plenty of them, So to me, that got me super excited. I think my favorite set literally is the plain stuff because I just like to create. I don't want to follow instructions to try to make something that's on the cover.
Yeah,
John,
I'm in a similar camp. I've never owned a set of Legos that were designed as a special movie tribute.
Well, now
or
I know what to
like
get
that.
you guys, for Christmas next year.
Well, but I was thinking if I did, I would probably want to opt for a Star Trek Lego set, which they don't make.
They don't.
Unfortunately.
It's a licensing thing,
Yeah,
right?
they don't have the licensing.
And I know our producer Ashley is right with you because she's a huge Star Trek fan.
Yeah. And of course, it's better than Star Wars. But in any case, it's something they
That's
don't
another
make.
podcast.
Seriously, might be a couple of them. Go ahead, Bob.
No, I'm done. That's it. That's
Paul
what I
and I.
would have chosen.
Okay.
So
Funny.
I got to go back to my childhood, my younger days. The very coolest toy I ever got was the classic yellow castle Lego set.
Oh, I remember
It
that.
was amazing. It was incredible. I built it like about half a dozen times. I still have the box actually in my closet.
Just the box?
No, well, it is missing some of the pieces. I keep
see.
looking at the box and I think, oh, should I build that again? And I think, oh, it'd be so disappointing because I'm sure not all the pieces are there. But it truly made for hours of playtime because I made, they never give you enough minifigures with these things, right? So I wound up making a bunch more knights with pipe cleaners. I just made some stick figure knights with shields and had them
Which I'm sure were exactly like the
exactly
originals.
alike. Oh, yeah. Oh, that was such a good set. So yeah, that would be my set.
Well, and it gets at, and we're going to talk about this, the beauty of play is ultimately doing your own thing.
Yeah.
And I think what all three of you have said is, because you're all three equally oppositional defiant, I'm just going to observe that. We're not going to follow instructions. We're going to make our own thing. But part of the joy, I think, especially of Legos, and I think why they have, persisted in our pop culture is because it does tap into your imagination.
Yeah.
And I think there's something really beautiful about that. And we'll
right.
talk about that further perhaps when we get into our Kidulting segment. So my choice is extraordinarily specific. The most important movie moment in my entire life is the first 30 seconds of Star Wars, where Princess Leia's ship, which is called what, Paul?
The Tavern 4?
You're so close.
Yavin 4.
No. Yavin 4 is the planet,
Something.
the moon. The Tantive.
Tantive
4. I know.
4.
You were close. You were close.
Man,
I'm gonna
failed.
if I were a
failed.
professor,
Star
I
Wars
would
trivia.
I would give you like maybe 70% credit on that.
I can draw it. Does that
Which,
count?
of course, Star Wars fans know is a Corellian Corvette that's set up to go fast.
Of course.
It's a
Of
blockade.
course.
I mean, everyone knows that.
It's a blockade runner. Anyway, I would get the ultimate collector set Tantive 4. I think they've made 3 of them, and the ultimate collector set is definitely the coolest.
There is so much alarming about that whole segment that you
Well-
know all of this information about Star Wars, and you know that there have been 3 separate Lego sets built.
Well, I think this is a great lead into our conversation, which is this idea of kidulting and the question of whether adults who have this nostalgia and now perhaps the means to go back and revisit their childhood, and maybe that means I hop on eBay and I get my favorite toy from when I was a kid. Or, I mean, how many of us grew up with a friend that they were, had rich and indulgent parents, and they got all the toys that we couldn't get. Like,
Yeah.
I had one Shogun Warrior, but my friend Kobe Shank had all 3, which felt like, plus Godzilla, which it felt unreasonable to me.
Yeah.
And I felt the lack. So obviously this is something that taps into a lot when we start talking about the psychology of what it is that drives adults, grown men and grown women, but probably mostly grown men, right? To buy toys.